Have you ever paused to consider that your very consciousness, that internal landscape of thoughts, feelings, and awareness, might extend beyond the neural networks of your brain, perhaps even being interwoven with the fundamental structure of reality itself?
That's a really compelling place to start, isn't it? It pushes right at the edges of how we understand ourselves and our place in the universe.
Absolutely. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something quite profound. A specific academic paper. It's titled Holographic Trans-disciplinary Framework of Consciousness, an Integrative Perspective by Tamar Levin from the Journal of Consciousness Exploration and Research.
And it really does offer a pretty innovative way to look at consciousness. It moves past some of the more, let's say, conventional materialist explanations that have dominated for a long time.
Okay, Holographic Trans-disciplinary Framework. That sounds like a lot to unpack.
Whoa.
What are the core ideas we need to get our heads around first?
It is multifaceted, you're right. Fundamentally, it merges two big ideas. First, the holographic worldview. This suggests reality itself might be structured like a hologram.
Like those 3D images, where the whole picture is somehow encoded everywhere on the plate.
Exactly. The key principle is that information about the whole isn't just in one place, it's distributed everywhere. Break off a piece, you still get the whole image, maybe less sharp, but it's all there.
Okay, distributed information, not localized. Got it. And the transdisciplinary part.
That broadens things out. It's about bringing together different fields, not just science, but philosophy, maybe even spirituality, art, to get a richer picture. It acknowledges different interconnected levels of reality.
So it's not just brain chemistry, it's looking at the bigger picture, maybe even metaphysical aspects.
Precisely. And a really central idea here is that consciousness isn't just something the brain does. It might be fundamental to the universe itself. It has, as the paper terms them, implicit layers, more metaphysical or spiritual, and explicit layers, the physical stuff we see and measure.
Right. So our mission today, for you listening, is to navigate this complex theory. We want to pull out the key insights about what consciousness is, how it might be structured, its role, without drowning you in academic speak. Hopefully, sparking some aha moments.
Yeah, it's about getting to the core of this synthesis. It draws on a lot of existing research to build its case.
Okay, let's start with why the paper argues the old view, the purely mechanistic one, just doesn't cut it for understanding consciousness. It mentions Penrose, right?
Yes, it does. The paper points out that the traditional mechanistic view, the Newtonian clockwork universe idea, is great for predicting billiard ball collisions, but it really struggles with subjective experience.
What it's like to be conscious.
Exactly that. It can describe neurons firing, sure, but not the feeling of seeing red or the sense of self. Penrose is one prominent figure who argues that classical physics just doesn't have the tools to explain consciousness.
It's like analyzing a poem just by counting nouns and verbs. You miss the meaning, the feeling.
That's a good analogy. And this limitation, the paper suggests, points towards needing a different approach, what it calls holistic science. It references Fritjof Capra here.
Moving from parts to wholes.
Right. Embracing complexity, interconnectedness, seeing systems, not just isolated components. The properties of the whole system often can't be predicted just by looking at the parts individually.
So instead of just dissecting the brain, we need to see consciousness within this bigger web of connections.
That's the idea. And the paper highlights how quantum mechanics has really pushed this shift. It mentions Primus, Nicolescu, Hu, and Wu. Quantum physics reveals a universe that's much more interconnected, probabilistic, non-local even.
Non-local connections.
Yeah.
Things influencing each other instantly, regardless of distance. That sounds relevant to consciousness.
It certainly opens up possibilities that classical physics didn't allow for. So these limitations of the old view, plus the insights from holistic thinking and quantum physics, kind of set the stage for this new framework.
Okay, stage set. Let's dig into the first pillar, the holographic worldview. You mentioned the basic idea, distributed information. How does David Bohm fit in? He saw the universe as a hologram.
Bohm's work is central here. He proposed that the reality we perceive, the solid, separate world, that's actually a projection. It unfolds from a deeper, more fundamental level he called the implicate order.
Implicate order, like folded up.
Exactly, unfolded. It's beyond our usual space and time. Everything we see is separate in our world. The explicate order, the unfolded reality, is actually interconnected and folded together in that implicate realm.
So the implicate is the potential, the source, and the explicate is the reality we experience projected from it, like the holographic film and the projected image.
That's the analogy the paper uses, yes. The film is the implicate, holding all the information. The projected image is the explicate, what we see and interact with. Bowman and Healy developed this further with their quantum potential field theory.
Quantum potential. What's that?
It's proposed as a kind of non-local influence guiding particles. It suggests an underlying wholeness. Particles aren't just isolated things. They emerge from and are connected to this deeper, implicate field of potential.
Wow. So everything is fundamentally linked at that deeper level, even if it looks separate to us. It's a big idea.
It is. And the paper notes how this resonates with thinkers trying to bridge science and spirituality. People like Groff, Capra, Laszlo, they see parallels between this interconnectedness and ideas of fundamental unity in spiritual traditions.
The whole we are all one idea finding a possible scientific footing.
In a way, yes. The paper also brings in Koestler's concept of holonomy.
Holonomy.
It's the idea that the part reflects the whole. A part displays attributes of the larger system it belongs to. This is relevant for consciousness because we are individuals, parts, but also potentially reflections of a larger whole.
So our individual consciousness might mirror a universal consciousness.
That's a key implication. Then there's quantum holography. Think about the wave function in quantum mechanics. It describes possibilities. When we observe, we get a particle, a single actuality. It's like the potential wave collapsing into the actual particle.
Wave-particle duality again.
Right. And the implicate order, acting like this holographic medium, could explain connections between things that seem separate. The paper links this to Jung and Pauli's idea of synchronicity.
Meaningful coincidences.
Exactly. Those events that seem connected, but not by obvious cause and effect. Maybe they're glimpses of this deeper implicate connection. And it also connects to quantum entanglement, of course.
Where particles stay linked no matter how far apart.
Yes. It all points to this underlying interconnected reality. The paper finishes this section with that great quote from James Jeans. The universe seems more like a great thought than a great machine.
That really captures the shift, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Away from clockwork to something more mindful. Okay, so that's the holographic view. Now the second pillar, the transdisciplinary worldview. What's the core idea here?
Transdisciplinarity, drawing on Niculescu's work, goes beyond just different academic fields working together on one problem that's interdisciplinarity. Transdisciplinarity seeks the underlying principles, the bridges between disciplines, between different ways of knowing, even different ways of being.
Oh, it's broader than just science, talking to humanities.
Much broader. The paper mentions 4 dimensions it covers. Ontology, what exists, the nature of being. Epistemology, how we know things. Methodology, how we perceive and act. And axiology, values, ethics, aesthetics.
Wow, okay. That's comprehensive.
It is. It views the universe, drawing on complexity theory thinkers like Kaufman and Prigogine, as this dynamic, living, interconnected system. Everything is linked and influencing everything else.
And it talks about different levels of reality, including a hidden third. That sounds intriguing.
Yes. It proposes multiple levels. There's the external world we sense, our internal subjective world, and then this hidden third. It's described as a kind of non-manifest linking space, where our experiences, interpretations, maybe our symbolic systems interact. It resonates a bit with Heisenberg's idea of levels of reality accessed through knowing.
So the hidden third is where objective and subjective meet and mingle.
That's a good way to put it. And in this view, everything's interconnected and co-evolving, physical, biological, psychological, ecological systems all influencing each other. It's definitely not a simple one-level reality.
It also says things can exist on different levels simultaneously, even if they seem contradictory from one level's perspective.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Niculescu suggests different levels have different rules, different fundamental concepts like space, time, causality, even logic might operate differently. A break in these rules marks a different level. So something might follow one set of laws on level A and a different, seemingly contradictory set on level B. The contradiction disappears when you understand the context of each level.
Ah, okay. It depends on the rulebook for that specific level. And this hidden third and the logic of the included middle help bridge these levels.
Exactly. They're key concepts. The logic of the included middle, unlike standard either-or logic, allows for a third possibility, a mediating element that can reconcile apparent contradictions between different levels.
So instead of forcing an either, it looks for a both hand or something in between.
Precisely. And this leads to the idea of a zone of non-resistance, basically, being open to other perspectives, other ways of knowing, willingness to question your own assumptions to allow new insights to emerge.
Sounds essential for genuine transdisciplinary work.
Absolutely. And it embraces epistemological pluralism, valuing different kinds of knowledge. Scientific, intuitive, experiential, maybe even spiritual knowing. Heisenberg himself noted intuition's role in science, right? Different views can be complementary if their conditions don't clash.
So different tools for different jobs, in a way. Different ways of knowing have their own validity.
Yes. And this ties back into Bohm's indivisible universe and the holographic unfolding idea. But transdisciplinarity adds these crucial layers: how we know epistemology, what we value axiology, and crucially, it puts the knower, the observer, back into the process of knowing.
Ah, so it's not just objective observation. The observer is part of the system.
Right. Which leads to ideas like Wheeler's or Chalmers, a participatory universe where information isn't just passive data, but maybe fundamental. Consciousness participates in shaping reality.
Okay. Holographic interconnectedness and transdisciplinary, multiple levels and ways of knowing. How does the paper weave these together into one framework for consciousness?
The core idea, the central tenet, is that humans are knowing, becoming, acting, valuing holograms within a holographic universe.
Wow, so the rules of the universe apply to us directly. We're embedded in it.
Yeah. Deeply embedded, not just observers, but perceivers, receivers, transmitters, active participants in this cognitive universe. Consciousness itself is seen as incredibly multifaceted. Its structure and systems, state and process, means and end. Its experience and information energy. It has those implicit metaphysical layers and explicit physical layers that manifest locally and non-locally.
And it mentions consciousness being multidimensional while the body is 3D.
Yes, extending beyond physical limits. This connects to William James's idea of a field of consciousness.
The islands in the sea analogy, separate on the surface, connected underneath.
That's the one. It fits well here. The paper also brings in Henry Stapp, fundamental processes happening outside space-time generating events within it. And Amit Goswami, the universe as formless potential made manifest by conscious observation. It all points to our quantum connection, our entanglement with our personal hologram and the universal one.
So our individual consciousness isn't standalone. It needs this bigger universal consciousness to exist.
That's the implication. Terms like quantum mind or universal mind from different fields hint at this. Human consciousness needs this broader context, even if we're not usually aware of it. And because it has these physical and metaphysical aspects, it can be influenced internally and externally. We can potentially learn to shift our states of consciousness, contributing to our own evolution and maybe even the universe's.
It really does paint consciousness as fundamental, not just an accident of biology.
Definitely. And when applied to the brain, for example, it's not seen as the generator of consciousness, more like a receiver, a processor. It expresses a deeper, non-physical field of information or experience. Pribram's quote nails it. The medium is not the message.
The brain is the radio, not the broadcast signal.
A very good analogy. Consciousness engages in local activity in the body, but also non-local activity beyond it, across different reality levels. This fits with Pribram's holonomic brain theory and research hinting at things like remote brainwave synchronization, remote viewing, precognition.
Those are definitely on the fringes, but this framework seems to offer a place for them.
It provides a theoretical context, yes. It also connects to mind-body medicine, how thoughts and feelings create real physiological changes. Again, the non-physical influencing the physical. The framework tries to tackle the what, how, and why of consciousness, ontology, and epistemology. And it stresses that zone of non-resistance for interpreting information, exercising free will, and recognizing that mind needs matter to express itself.
Okay, so it's a radical rethinking. The paper has a section on reversing and reconsidering systems, basically highlighting how the old view got things backwards.
Exactly. It argues the mechanistic view isn't just limited, it's often upside down. It prioritizes information over direct experience, parts over the whole, means over ends, structure over function, the local over the non-local, the external over the internal, and pure cognition over emotions and intentions.
We're focusing on the superficial stuff and missing the deeper essence.
That's the argument. This reversal makes us overlook the intrinsic nature of consciousness, its potential for development. We separate meaning from experience, ignore personal potential, disregard spirit or soul, focus too much on the ego, and end up feeling alienated from ourselves, others, and the world. The paper calls for a total transformation of worldview to fix this imbalance.
A powerful critique. So let's get into the specifics of human consciousness within this framework. It talks about subconscious, conscious, and higher consciousness.
Yes. Underlying everything is this fundamental universal consciousness. Human consciousness is seen as a self-organizing system, autopoietic, with three interacting components. First, the subconscious. Mental and emotional stuff we're not aware of. Deep memories may be generational or even past life influences.
Like a huge hidden database influencing us.
Kind of, yes. Drawing on people like Reber or Groff. Second, the conscious mind. What we are aware of right now, thoughts, feelings, knowledge shaped by culture, education, present moment, often called ego consciousness.
Our everyday waking self.
Right. And third, the higher consciousness, or super subconscious. This holds our core identity beliefs, our pure potential, uncontaminated by life experiences. It's the transpersonal part, connecting us to the universal mind, reflecting pure value and meaning.
Our link to the bigger picture, our untainted core.
That's the idea, echoing Jung, Sagioli, Groff. Importantly, these three aren't separate boxes. They're totally intertwined, one integrated system. Our state of consciousness at any moment depends on the balance between them. Consciousness is seen as an integrative space-time system, meaning it's influenced by inward-outward space processes, our inner world and external interactions, and also backward-forward time processes, memory of the past, anticipation of the future, shaping the present.
Interesting. It connects this to Einstein and Kant's views on space and time as related to the mind.
It does, seeing them not just as external containers, but related to how we perceive. It also aligns with Popper and Eccles' idea of consciousness emerging from interactions between brain, culture, and mind. The framework really stresses the vital role of those implicit layers, the subconscious and higher consciousness.
So our conscious awareness is just the tip of the iceberg. The paper says we mostly live in the subconscious.
That's the claim. Conscious awareness is like an echo of the vast subconscious, as Vellman's, Harman, or Libet might suggest. Think of Polanyi's tacit knowledge, the stuff we know but can't easily explain its fundamentals, supporting our focused conscious knowledge. And the higher self is the doorway to that universal consciousness, as Jung suggested.
So exploring these deeper layers could unlock a lot more awareness and connection.
That's definitely a key implication. The paper then looks at research that might support this three-part model, things like hypnosis, past life regression studies.
Controversial areas for sure.
They are, but the paper includes them as potentially tapping into different reality levels, or the subconscious archive. Also, meditation studies potentially accessing the higher self, and experiments showing mental focus affecting physical systems, mind influencing matter.
Is there any thought about measuring these states?
The paper suggests a future direction could be trying to detect subtle energy frequencies characterizing each state. That would be revolutionary, obviously.
Finding a physical correlate for these different levels of awareness.
Wow. A huge challenge. But even without that, the paper notes there's strong theoretical support for the subconscious being dominant, drawing on Helmholtz, Kihlström, Jung. Their work provides a foundation.
Okay, so this multi-layered model has implicit and explicit dimensions. The paper applies this to the brain and mind too.
Yes. Brain as the explicit physical layer. Mind as the implicit hidden layer operating at a different reality level with its own rules. This aligns with Popper and Perbrem.
And it supports Eccles' idea of mind influencing brain, not just the other way around.
Exactly. It uses the analogy of light through a prism. The brain doesn't create consciousness. It refracts or expresses a pre-existing field. The mind, the implicate layer, shapes brain activity. And crucially, it applies the same dual-layer logic to the heart and soul.
Heart and soul. Interesting.
We'll get more into that, but the idea is brain and heart are the material representations. Mind and soul are the non-material metaphysical representations at a deeper level.
So our physical organs express a non-physical reality. It quotes Max Planck saying, matter derives from consciousness.
Yes, and this fits with Primus and Pauli seeing mental and material as complementary aspects of one reality. So brain, mind, heart, soul, not strict dualism, but different layers of one system, implicate and explicate. Quantum theory ideas about active information guiding processes on both levels are relevant here too.
So mind and soul aren't just metaphors. They're part of the fundamental implicate reality manifesting physically.
That's the view. It references Teilhard de Chardin's within and without, stressing the primacy of the inner subtle aspects, leading to that quote, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience."
That really flips the perspective. Okay, now let's dive into these dialogues. Heart, brain, and soul mind. This seems critical.
It is. Consciousness links beliefs, feelings, desires, self-image. The paper argues these processes involve not just the brain, neuroscience, but also the heart, neurocardiology. It mentions Paul Pearsall contrasting the head-brain, intellect, with the heart-brain, emotional intelligence, intuition interacting for transcendence.
The heart having its own intelligence. That's an ancient idea.
It is. Seen as the seat of emotion, courage, wisdom across cultures, the paper cites research by the Lacey showing the heart communicates complex signals to the brain, affecting perception, emotion, behavior. So heart and brain work synergistically. Biological heart-brain, physical basis. Soul-mind, subtle mental spiritual basis.
And the heart has its own nervous system, the little brain.
Yeah.
And it's a major energy source.
Yes. The intrinsic cardiac nervous system operates somewhat independently, sending neurological, hormonal, electromagnetic info to the brain and body. Research suggests it's highly sensitive to emotions, has its own intelligence, learns, reacts. It might even communicate via an info-energetic code.
Info-energetic code.
Yeah.
Carrying meaningful information. And the heart can learn without conscious awareness.
That's what work by McCready and others suggests. The heart also seems key in picking up non-local information and sending it to the brain. So it's much more than a pump. It's a sophisticated information processor. There's a strong feedback loop between brain and heart for emotion regulation. Heart signals affect cognitive functions like memory, attention, performance.
And the holographic theory helps explain this energetic communication. Consciousness as a two-way street between heart and brain.
Yes, a synergistic dialogue. The brain's needed, but not sufficient alone. The heart's intrinsic system is why transplants can work before full nerve reconnection. Both organs seem to holographically encode information. The heart's energy field might be coupled to that non-local information field.
And that research suggesting the heart gets intuitive info before the brain, or senses future events. That's mind-bending.
It is startling research cited from McCready's group. Also, studies showing one person's heart energy detectable in another's brainwaves on touch. The picture is physical heart-brain foundation. Soul-mind is subtle basis. Unseen energies fold into conscious experience via physiology.
This really elevates the heart's role way beyond just pumping blood. Okay, what about near-death experiences, NDEs, out-of-body experiences, OBEs, after-death experiences, ADEs? How do they fit?
The paper looks at reports from people clinically dead and revived. Crucially, this includes people born blind reporting visual details of events while their brains were non-functional coma, brain death.
Often used as evidence for consciousness beyond the brain.
Exactly. The paper suggests these accounts support consciousness potentially existing on another reality level, communicating with universal information that higher subconsciousness may be unbound by space, time, or the physical body. It aligns with Sheldrake's idea of mind as an extended field.
And reports from long-term coma patients recalling events accurately.
Yes, citing Subham, Grayson, and Flynn. Also, the long-term after effects of NDEs are noted. Changed worldview, more spirituality, empathy, less fear of death. This could suggest some kind of consciousness evolution happening on these other levels, maybe linking to Wilber's ideas of integration.
So these unusual experiences find a potential explanation within this framework's non-local view of consciousness. Now, the paper connects the heart, soul, and the genetic code. This sounds like we're getting to the core of identity.
We are. Unlike brain-mind-focused models, this framework really emphasizes the heart-soul link. Just like the brain has explicit and implicit layers, so does the heart. The heart's tacit layer is the soul, the primary energy center of identity, the core essence, the true self.
The soul isn't abstract, it's tied to the heart, our feeling center.
That's the idea. Soul as the moral-emotional core feeling, thinking, memory, desire. The heart conveys the information energy of our essence, our soul, our unique identity code, selfhood, drawing on Hertak or Zukov. It quotes Pearsall again. Human beings do not have a soul, but rather that the human being is actually a soul.
That quote is powerful.
Yeah.
It uses heart transplant evidence, people reporting personality changes.
Yes. While acknowledging cellular memory explanations, the paper suggests the heart has a unique impact on selfhood and transplants. Combining this with spiritual psychological identity concepts, Jung, James, Maslow, etc., it posits the heart as the seat of the metaphysical spiritual self, our unique identity. Specifically, the root of the soul resides there.
The root of the soul, like a central anchor point.
Kind of. The deepest essence, connecting to the universal mind via higher subconsciousness. It's seen as mediating between heart, brain, universe in conscious-unconscious processes. It holds our core identity potential carried by a spiritual code with deep memories, personal, maybe incarnational, like a personalized collective unconscious.
A spiritual blueprint within the soul, centered in the heart. And this leads to the spiritual genetic code, going even deeper.
Right. Self-identity as genetic instructions operating on multiple reality levels. We know the biological DNA code. This framework proposes a parallel, subtler layer, a spiritual metaphysical genetic code interacting with the biological one.
So DNA isn't just physical traits. It encodes our spiritual essence, too. Preferences, tendencies, fears, potential.
That's the proposal. An integrated code, spiritual, metaphysical, and physical mental layers, forming our core identity potential. It resonates with Miller and Webb's idea of DNA holding the whole structure, including spiritual survival aspects. Science has mapped the physical code. The spiritual one remains largely unexplored, the paper argues. But it points to research suggesting quantum subtle energy phenomena in genetics.
Like DNA acting as a transducer, converting subtle energy to electromagnetic signals for biochemical effects.
Yes, and research on DNA's vibrational behavior acting like a biological internet, oscillating coherently, responding to fields. Specific findings mentioned include non-coding junk DNA potentially being programmable by vibrations, words, thoughts, music frequencies. Living chromosomes acting as holographic computers using DNA laser radiation, possibly sending info via radio waves. The DNA phantom effect, where its presence lingers energetically. Even ideas about DNA creating wormholes for information transfer outside spacetime. Plus Lipton's work on perception controlling gene activity, and Miller et al.'s view of DNA as a holographic projector of the psychophysical system.
That's some wild cutting-edge stuff about DNA. So this framework sees the spiritual genetic code as central to our character.
Exactly. Defining our potential as holographic beings interacting with reality levels, affecting our lives, universal balance, evolution. It suggests the universe might mediate this code for adaptation, even imprinting a profile into a new soul. This code is active in consciousness, influencing transcendence, mediating conscious-subconscious dialogue. It resides in the soul root, but permeates every cell holographically. It provides a context for Purcell's heart code and Hurtak's spiritual genetic code. It might even offer scientific explanations for prayer, hypnosis, healing effects. Ultimately, the soul root and spiritual genetic code largely define our subjective consciousness potential. Biological code, life experiences modulate this within the mind-heart-brain universe context. This complex dynamic leads to our unique intentions, experiences, behaviors. Each unique self, soul root, code, history, has a subjective baseline point of view.
So even identical twins wouldn't be identical consciousness-wise because of unique souls and spiritual codes.
That's the fascinating implication. It really emphasizes individuality at the deepest level.
Okay, this has been incredibly detailed. The final section sums it all up as an integrative framework of consciousness. What are the main takeaways from that synthesis?
It positions human consciousness as a universe in miniature, a microcosm following macrocosmic principles. Based on holistic science, not just one paradigm, consciousness is inherent to the universe, needing universal consciousness. Human thoughts, feelings can access history and contribute to evolution, echoing Kant's idea of us creating our experienced world. It recaps the holographic trans-disciplinary traits: structure process, state becoming, mean send, experience energy, implicit, explicit layers. It allows for transcendent states connecting to the infinite. It highlights the fundamental heart-soul-brain-mind interactions driven by our unique essence soul-spiritual code. It aims to bridge first-person subjective and third-person objective data, addressing Chalmers' hard problem. It aligns with Eccles's view of spiritual beings in a material world, but as a unified whole transcending dualism. The soul-heart relation is key, mediating consciousness processes, brain-mind links, reality-level interactions, and conscious, subconscious, superconscious relations. The framework uses integration in 3 ways. First, collaboration. Components working together synergistically, the whole greater than the sum of parts. Consciousness as knowing together. Second, entirety, including everything relevant, small details, large wholes, visible, invisible factors, brain-heart constituents. Third, unity. The whole defines the essence in every part, representing the soul root and genetic code expressing our potential self.
So it tries to be truly holistic, and it claims to meet Hondrick's criteria for a good theory of consciousness.
Yes, it accounts for 1. Seeming nature, unified stream of conscious sub-higher. 2. Subjectivity, mediated by unique self-history. 3. Reality, consciousness has real roles in survival, growth, transcendence. 4. Mind-body causation via physical-metaphysical interactions. 5. Differences between conscious parts kinds. It sees human consciousness as non-physical experience expressed biologically, a fundamental layer. Finally, it stresses it's not just theory. Its ideas have research support, awaiting future quantitative tests, perhaps in those energy frequencies.
This has been, well, an incredibly deep and thought-provoking journey through this framework. The sheer scale linking consciousness, the universe holography, heart, soul, even genetics. It's mind-expanding stuff.
It really is. It challenges us to move beyond purely materialistic views and consider a much richer, more interconnected reality of what it means to be conscious.
So, for you listening, what this offers is a potentially deeper, more integrated way to understand yourself and your place in things. Moving beyond simple answers, it suggests we're not just machines, but active parts of this vast, seemingly intelligent, holographic cosmos.
And it certainly leaves us with some profound questions to ponder.
Absolutely. Here's one to maybe sit with. If our consciousness is a microcosm of a holographic universe, what other hidden potentials might we have? How could we explore the depths of our own being even further? That's quite something to think about after this deep dive wraps up.
A question that could keep you thinking for a long time.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration. We really hope these ideas resonate with you, spark some thoughts, maybe some questions of your own. If you want to go deeper, the paper itself in the Journal of Consciousness Exploration and Research is the place to start.
Absolutely worth seeking out if this sparked your interest.
Until our next deep dive, keep exploring, both outwards and inwards.